Okay, so today we're going to go through the NFTs that are slightly more expensive than the last video. These ones are going to be about $10 to $30. Some might have dropped a bit below $10, and some might be slightly above $10. I'm not exactly sure, but give or take roughly $10 to $30 for all these SFTs. So open up the Power-Ups tab, and you can see here Maneki Neko dropped below $10, as well as it did a few of these other ones that I didn't cover in the last video, so we'll start with those ones. So Maneki Neko used to be a very strong SFT. It's still quite good. The problem is that the foods that it gives aren't amazing. They're pretty good for a new player before you start getting the cakes and the lemon cakes and the pizzas and whatnot. Essentially the foods that use cheese. It's quite good before that. After that, it's nice to have, but not amazing. I would still put it quite high. I'll still probably put it either B or A, just because getting free food every day is nice, and it can be used for deliveries and whatnot, so I'll put it in A. Next one is Poppy. Poppy is plus 0.1 corn, and corn, like I said in the last video, corn is quite good, but the last boost was Corn Onesie, and this is like the same boost, but it's twice as expensive. It's not a wearable, but it's still quite good because it's not a wearable, so it's better than Corn Onesie in that sense, but it's twice as expensive, so we'll put it in C. I don't remember if I put Corn Onesie in B or C, but it's about here. Okay, Night Chicken. Night Chicken is not very good. By default, you get 10 oil on your first mining of oil, 10 on the second one, and then 30 on the third. So the default average oil you get is about 16, I think. So increasing that by 0.1 is almost nothing. I wouldn't put this in F. Where is he? But it's either D or F. I think I'll probably put it in D because getting increased oil is good, but it's such a small amount that it's almost irrelevant. Next up is Kernaldo. Minus 25% corn growth time. 25% is a huge amount. I'm going to probably put that in B. Like I said, corn is important, and minus 25% is a huge amount, so we'll put that there. So next up we have Lemon Frog. Lemon Frog gives a minus 25% growth time for lemons, and that's a pretty big boost. Last video I said that fruit aren't in a great spot. Well, lemons and tomatoes actually are in an okay spot because lemon cheesecake uses lemons, and margarita pizza uses tomatoes, so lemons and tomatoes are actually pretty useful right now. Minus 25% is a huge amount. I'm probably going to put this up here in A. It's a very good boost to have if you're growing a bunch of lemons. Okay, next up we have Cabbage Boy, which is a plus 0.25 boost for your cabbage. It's a nice boost to have. It's not a huge amount. It's better than a lot of the earlier ones were. The problem is that cabbage doesn't have a ton of cheap boosts like carrots and eggplant do, but it's still a good boost to have. It's the one that doesn't work with Carcinos, so it's nice to have, but it's not the best boost in the game. I would still put it quite high. It's either probably B or A. I'll put it in B for now. Foliant plus 0.2 kale. Unless you're decal, you don't really grow all that much kale, most people, because it takes so long to grow. But 0.2 is a pretty good boost. It's a pretty expensive crop. I'll probably put it in C. Ladybug. Ladybug is a good boost. There aren't many apple boosts in the game, so this is one of the few apple boosts. But like I said, fruit aren't in a great spot in the game, so this is probably either D or C. I'll probably put it in C because it's a pretty big boost, and like I said, there aren't many apple boosts, so if you want one, then this is like your best bet. Next up we have Crimstone Armor. Crimstone Armor is a plus 0.1 boost to Crimstones. The default amount for Crimstones is you get 4 days of 1, and then on the 5th day you get plus 2, so you get 3. So the average is 1.4. So increasing that by 0.1 is pretty big, to be honest. There aren't many Crimstone boosts in the game. This is the cheapest one, and it's a quite strong one. So I'm going to put it up in A. Soil Krabby. Soil Krabby is nice to have, but it's not super important. It prevents drift, like I talked about in the last video. So the third compost, I think it's called Premium Composter. I believe it's a 12-hour default time. So this allows you to do 2 per day consistently. It's nice to have, but there's also a skill that you can get instead. I'm going to put it either in C or B, I would say. Probably C. It's not the best boost, but it's nice to have. Vinny. Vinny is like the boosts that we talked about before. The olive shirt and rice panda, 0.25 rice, 0.25 olives. The problem, the reason why Vinny might be slightly better than the other two is because there's a lot of boosts for crops that affect olives and rice that don't affect grapes, and it's harder to get boosts on grapes than it is to get boosts on olives and rice. So I'll probably put this in B. I'm pretty sure I put the other ones in B as well, but this one's slightly more expensive, so that might counteract the fact that it's a bit better. Next we have Flower Fox. Anything that reduces flower growth time is very good in my opinion, because there aren't that many ways to reduce flower growth time. There's a couple of skills. It's super important to be able to produce flowers quickly for chores, because there's going to be a lot of requirements to produce a bunch of flowers every week, and a lot of NPCs are going to be requesting a lot of flowers every week, so any amount of flower production speed you can get is going to be helpful. Next we have the Camel Onesie. Camel Onesie is just a straight boost to all fruit. So this one isn't the biggest boost, but it is a universal boost to fruit patches. So I'd probably put it in B or A, to be honest. I think I'll put it in B because it's not the biggest boost, but it's universal, which can be very strong. Tiki Totem. So this is our first wood boost, I believe, and it's not the biggest boost, but most people are going to be chopping wood, so having wood boosts is very strong. I'm going to either put it in B or A. I'll probably put it in A. Like I said, everyone's probably going to be chopping their trees, so having any boost for it is very good. Undead Rooster is next. Undead Rooster is like the same as Rich Chicken. It's so much more expensive because there are so fewer amount. It's like 1/5 of the supply or something, give or take. That's why it's so much more expensive. I put Rich Chicken in S last video. This is either a B or A just because of how much more expensive it is. It's nice to have, but not mandatory because, like I said, it's so much more expensive. Swiss Whiskers. So Swiss Whiskers increases the amount of experience you get from cheese-related recipes. So lemon cheesecake, for example, margarita pizza. So it's nice to have, but it's not a huge amount of experience when the default amount of experience you get for these recipes is like 20, 30,000 or whatever. Getting an extra 500 isn't a ton. I'll probably put it in B as well. I don't think it's good enough to go up to A because it only affects certain recipes and it's not a huge boost. Nancy. Okay, so Nancy is next, and Nancy is one of the best SFTs in the game. It's minus 15% crop growth time. It affects all crops. It's an amazing boost. It'll stack with other boost reductions. The one problem with Nancy is that it doesn't stack with Scarecrow or Kubiko. So it's a very good boost to have, but you aren't going to want it if you have the other ones, obviously. Next we have Rooster. Rooster is 2x mutant chicken chance. It's nice to have, but it's definitely not mandatory. A lot of people don't get any mutant chickens during a chapter anyways, so it could do nothing during a whole chapter. So I got one summer chicken this chapter, so I could have got it without the mutant chicken, without the rooster, sorry. You just don't know. So it's kind of fun to have. It's fun to get these mutants every once in a while, but definitely not mandatory. Beekeeper Hat. Beekeeper Hat is similar to, like I said, about the drifting. It'll prevent your beehives from drifting, but you can get that in a skill. And unless you're going to get a bunch of honey production, There's other items further down that give more honey production speed. I think the Beekeeper mat or the bee helmet. No, that's the bee swarm chance. Anyways, there's other SFTs that increase your speed. So if you start stacking them, it's good. If you don't, it's not amazing. I would put it in either B or C as well. I'm gonna put it in C for now. Next up, we have the Observatory, one of the best items in the game. Flat 5% experience boosts all of your food. It's almost a must-have at some point. And the good thing about experience boosts is they multiply off each other. So like the more you have, the better they are. Next, we have Frozen Cow. It's similar to the summer chicken we talked about earlier, but obviously for cows and during the winter, whereas the summer chicken was during the summer. You typically aren't going to have more cows than you are chickens. So the chicken one is better. I don't remember exactly where I put the chicken one, but we'll put the cow at B. It's nice to have, but definitely not mandatory. Actually, no, we'll put it in C. It's nice to have, but definitely not mandatory. It's so expensive because the supplies are quite low. Next we have Moo-ver. Moo-ver is nice, but you don't get leather at every cow level, and leather isn't very useful right now. So I would put it either at C or D. I'll probably put it at D because it's quite expensive for just giving you leather. Peeled potato. It gives you 20% chance of plus 1 pumpkins, or sorry, plus 1 potatoes. But potatoes just aren't that expensive. Getting 20%, effectively 20% more potatoes, it's nice to have, but I would much rather like a flat 20% boosted carrots for a significantly lower price. I'm going to put this at probably C. Lunar Calendar, minus 10% crop growth time. It's also an S. Nancy is better and cheaper, but still just reducing crop growth time is amazing. It's one of the best items you can get. Squirrel Monkey. Squirrel Monkey is very strong, but it's for oranges, which aren't that useful. I'm going to put it at B just because it's such a strong boost, minus 50% orange growth time. If oranges were better, this could easily be A or S. Just oranges aren't that useful right now. There aren't many recipes that need them. Reveling Lemon is up next. Like I said, lemons are in a quite good spot. I'm going to put this one at B as well. The reason why it's like at the same spot as the monkey is because the monkey boost is way stronger, but lemons are better. So those kind of counteract each other. Next, Pollo Veloz, and this one is going to depend a lot on if you have other boosts like the speed chicken. Depending on how many boosts you have, you can actually like farm chickens multiple times in the same day. I'm gonna put this one at B as well. I'm pretty sure I put the actually I might have got these mixed up. This one is actually Kernaldo, and this one is the speed chicken. Sorry. So yeah, I'm gonna put it here because, like I said, they're good if you can get a lot of them, but they're not amazing. Actually, I think I'm gonna put it at C. Next up, we have Alba, plus 50% chance of plus 1 basic fish. Basic fish don't give much experience. It's nice to get extra like anchovies, I guess, but you don't really care much about basic fish for the most part, other than anchovies. So I'm gonna put it at D because fishing's in a pretty bad spot right now, and that's a pretty expensive boost for it. So Queen Cornelia gives plus 1 corn to an AoE around it. It affects in a 3x4 slot, but it takes up part of that slot. So I believe it affects 10 slots. I could be wrong about that, but it's about 10. So plus 1 corn for 10 slots is effectively plus 10 corn per harvest. But if you go back to like Poppy, for example, this is 0.1 corn. If you have like 60 slots, this is 6 corn per harvest. So this one's better, but it takes up room on your farm. I'm gonna put it at the same spot as Poppy. It's slightly better than Poppy, but it's twice as expensive too, so I'm gonna put it in the same tier as Poppy. Crab Trap, plus 1 crabs when digging. So like if you get a crab while digging, it just gives you an extra one. It's not the strongest. Crabs are pretty cheap to sell, so I'm gonna put it. It's either C or D. I'm probably gonna put it at D. I'm surprised it's that expensive. I guess the supply is relatively low. That's why it's so expensive. Next up, we have Longhorn Cowfish. Milk is super useful right now. There's a ton of uses for milk. All the best foods use milk. This is either an S or an A. How much is like Milk Apron? +5 for 90. This is +2 for like 20. Yes, this one's, I mean, it's either S or A. I don't know if I can put it in S. It's probably A, but it's definitely up here. Next we have frozen sheep. So people just don't want sheep as much as they do want cows right now. It's nice to have, but you just don't have many cows. It's either D or F, to be honest, because like I said, you just don't want many cows, but it's nice to not get sick animals. I'll put it at D because there's a chance there's a chance people want sheep in the future, so I'll put it there. Next we have Tunnel Mole, plus 0.25 stone. The problem with stone is that like you're almost better off like not farming stone and just like going all in on iron and then selling your iron and buying the stone you need. But plus 0.25 stone is quite a big boost. I'm probably going to put it in, it's either B or C, I would say. I guess I'll put it in B. Crimstone Pecker. So Crimstone Pecker is the same boost as the Crimstone Armor, but it's obviously significantly more expensive. Like twice as expensive. But like I said before, there also aren't many boosts for Crimstone, so it's nice. It's good to have. And it's not a wearable, so there is that going for it. So I'm going to put it in B. Cake Grinder. The best food in the game right now is lemon cheesecake, and increasing the amount of experience you get from that is amazing. So once again, experience boosts basically go in S, unless it's Skill Shrimpy or the one that's specifically for cheese. Next up we have Cannonball. Cannonball is basically the same thing as Reveling, or is the what is it, the Lemon Frog? Yeah, Lemon Frog, but lemons take longer to grow, so getting Cannonball isn't as big of a time savings, and it's more expensive. So I'm gonna put it in B for those reasons. Next we have Lemon Shark. Lemon Shark is not quite as good as Reveling Lemon, and it's more expensive. So I'm going to put it in C. And finally we have Carrot Sword. I'm going to put this in F, to be honest. This is only really good if you're a whale and you're spending a ton of coins in the potion house. What the Carrot Sword does is increases the chance of getting mutant crops from the magic beans in the potion house. The mutant crops are the Radical Radish, the Stellar Sunflower, and the Potent Potato. I would just avoid this NFT unless you're a whale. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. It would help me out a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Have a good day, guys.